Well, hello, everybody. This is Tim Lee, Executive Director of the Texas Retired Teachers Association, and happy Saturday morning. We are coming to you live from the TRTA offices today in downtown Austin, and we wanted to bring everybody up to speed on what we now know with the benefit enhancement proposals that have been moving through the legislative session. And to just be very open and transparent with everyone. We saw a lot of this last night, the final information as it was coming out, and really had a chance to review it. We are going to go through this material. I'm going to lay out a couple of provisos, but I also want to tell everybody and ask for a little bit of patience this morning because I am running the whole thing solo as far as the equipment. Usually I have my team partner, Roy Varney. I always call him our producer on the other side of this so that I can just focus on the material. And so if you see me looking down from time to time to make sure that everything is working, which is what I'm going to do in just a few seconds, forgive me, because it means that I look away from the audience, and it's, I hate doing that, but I'm trying to see that everything's going well. So I'm going to look in the comments on both Facebook and YouTube. Can somebody in the comments just say that they can hear this and everything is good? Because it looks like everything is going well, but I just get a little bit of an affirmation that people are saying, yes, we can hear you. Looks good. All right. Thank you so much, Brenda and Martina, Dale, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate everybody doing that. I am joined this morning in our office with one of our TRTA legislative consultants, Larry Yawn. Larry is a longtime TRTA member, former coordinator for our legislative committee, and a very good friend. And he is kind of off camera helping make sure that I don't leave anything out. But he is saying hello to everyone right now. So let's go ahead and get started. And I want to say that, in this material, there's going to be a lot of news and information, and some people are absolutely going to love what I'm going to say, and some people are going to say, maybe they had thought or hoped it was going to be different. Just giving a top-down overview approach, like I said before, we're talking about a total of $5 billion that TRTA has helped push through the legislative process. And I'm going to talk about the bills, and I'm going to talk about the HJR, and I'm going to talk about what the benefit enhancements are. But it is an additional appropriation of about $5 billion to pay for a cost of living adjustment and for some supplemental checks that will be going out to folks. And we have some breakdowns on that we're going to get into. Now, that $5 billion is an additional amount of contribution to fully fund the benefit enhancements that we are about ready to talk about. We know the teacher retirement system is receiving contributions from our active school employees, from the state of Texas, from our school districts. And when you total all those dollars up, those billions of dollars up into TRS, that money is what is keeping the retirement system moving in a path forward to not only providing the benefits to everyone that's currently retired and all the future retirees, but it also is what is helping us pay down our unfunded liabilities. Today, we're at a 27-year amortization. The state would say that we are under the 31-year threshold, or saying that we're actuarially sound. And so the good news is that we are talking about additional funding that will ensure that these benefit enhancements will have no negative impact on the trust fund. I don't have official confirmation on this yet, but we are looking this up. And we believe this is the highest level of general revenue that has ever been appropriated to pay for or fully fund a benefit enhancement, so long as the retirement system was not being used as a way to fund the benefit increases. And let me go back on that just a second. And many of our longer-term TRTA members will remember something called the CPI catch-up. There was a period in time in Texas history where the teacher retirement system was over 100% funded. And the legislature was providing some benefit increases, cost of living adjustments to retirees in that period of time where the system was helping pay for those costs. And the total appropriations then over that 3 or 4 biennia period of time may have been more than $5 billion, but never in history has the legislature ever appropriated this much money to fully fund a benefit increase without using the trust fund in some capacity to pay for it. So this is a big win for retirees in just on the money side of it. And again, I'm going to talk about these items as we go through this and address some of the questions and concerns that people may have. But let's go ahead and get into the proposal itself and what we saw in what we call the Conference Committee report to Senate Bill 10. Last night, the Conference Committee report was officially loaded into the system. And anyone who would like to read the Conference Committee report certainly can do so. If you go to Texas Legislature Online and you open up the window that talks about the search for a bill, Senate Bill 10, and then you can find the text of this, you would be able to read the Conference Committee report and the items that are in it. And so I'm going to start talking about the COLA that is part of Senate Bill 10. And I mentioned some proviso statements. We're reading this material. We're looking at this material. We know that this all has to go into effect. And in truth, the Conference Committee report has been filed. The legislature still has to take a final vote on accepting the Conference Committee report. That will occur in both the House and the Senate. That could occur at some point today, or it could occur at some point tomorrow. Tomorrow is really the last day that they can get all of this done. I truly believe that they will get it done. It may go down to the last minute, or they could do something where they would take it up early. And the legislature has lots of things that are going on right now. Those of you that are following that, there are many things that are happening in the legislative process. But we're going to follow this to the end. Our report today is not to say that this is final. Final will be when the session adjourns and we know that all of these things have taken into effect. But what we can report to everyone today is what the Conference Committee report is saying about the benefit increases as the legislature moves to final approval of all of this material. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, they approved the budget, or at least the Senate did. Did the House approve the budget? The House approved the budget as well. So that means that the funding will be there. So we have 2 of the 3 major bills that are passed to ensure that this is going to move on down the road and become official law and be done. The last piece is the official adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 10. So let's get into it. The COLA. The COLA is a tiered COLA at 2%, 4%, and 6%. According to the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 10, in order to be eligible to receive the COLA, you need to have been retired August 31st, 2020 or before. So that again, eligible COLA recipients will have been retired 8/31/2020 or before. If your annuity started August 31st, or if you retired August 31st, 2001 or before, your COLA will be 6%. Again, that's 8/31/2001 retirement date or before. You fall into the 6% category. If you retired after 8/31/2001, but before 8/31/2013, your COLA will be 4%. You fall into that 4% tier. So again, basically, if you retired on or after 9/1/01, but before 8/31, 2013, it will be 4% increase. The final tier is anyone who is retired after August 31st, 2013, but on or before August 31st, 2020. And that is the 2% tier. So that 2% raise is, again, for anyone who retired after 8/31, 2013, but before 8/31, 2020. Now, I do have some general estimates, just in case anybody is curious. Again, these are TRTA estimates as of today, best guess based on material that we have available. It is not an actuarial guarantee, and there's a lot of changes that go on. But just so you get some idea of how large these tiers are, we estimate that about 80,000 retirees will get the 6% raise. We estimate that about 190,000 retirees will get the 4% raise, and another 150,000 retirees will get the 2% raise. So obviously affecting a lot of our total TRS population. And I also want to point out that unlike previous COLA that we saw in 2013, there is no cap on this COLA. Again, I'll just repeat that. There is no cap on the COLA that is being talked about right now and as part of the statutory plan that the legislature is considering. So I'm going to pause just for a second and take a quick look at some of the Q&A. Cindy Sharp is here with me as well. Thank you, Cindy, for being here on a Saturday morning. A lot of you know she's one of our TRTA colleagues. She is posting in the, at least on Facebook comments, the material about the updates. We will, of course, put this in an update as well, but we wanted to bring you these details as soon as we could. Now, I meant to say this earlier. Some of you who live in the Dallas area, or if you receive the Dallas Morning News, an excellent reporter, somebody that we've gotten to know pretty well by the name of Bob Garrett, did report on this, I think, earlier in the week, maybe on Thursday night or Friday. We were seeing some of these details come out when Dr. Bonden was laying this out in the House Appropriations Committee. And Bob put this material out. The reason that TRTA waited is because we wanted to see the official conference committee report language so that we would be able to verify some of the things that we had heard during the legislative process. And so we're getting these details out as fast as we can, and we'll write them up as well to make sure that you all have them. Okay, so on the supplemental checks, I don't know that in the history of the teacher retirement system and in the legislative period of time where they've been doing benefit enhancements, TRS is now over 80 years old. This may be the first time in the history of the teacher retirement system where a cost of living adjustment and some targeted supplemental payments are being issued around the same time. I'm going to come back to the COLA and talk about the HJR, or the House Joint Resolution, or what we call the constitutional authorization. Give me just a second. I'm going to come back to that because I will also tell you when the COLAs will go into effect, pending approval of the constitutional authorization, which is why I'm coming back to that. All right, so to just talk about the supplemental checks, the one-time supplemental checks that are being discussed in the conference committee report, it looks like the supplemental checks for any retiree who is 75 years of age or older, they will receive a check of $7,500. Again, that's that group of retirees that are 75 and over and who may have more modest retirement benefits. A lot of conversation in the legislative session about making sure that retirees who've been out of the classroom and whose benefits are probably more modest than some more recent retirees, they wanted to really focus dollars in that direction, which they have with the $7,500 payment to those annuitants. And then anyone that is 70, at least age 70, but younger than 75, 74, will receive $2,400. And so there will be a tiered supplemental check as well. 75 and over will receive $7,500, and anyone 70 to 74 will receive the $2,400. Now, we're reading through lots of language in the conference committee report. We're reading through the other support materials that go along with that. Some people are already asking me, on what date, if I turn 70 or 75 in September, what will my check be? I'd like to try to answer that question, but I'm going to wait to probably have a conversation with some of our friends, either in the legislature or at TRS, to really make sure that we're understanding the language on that. The checks are set up to be paid in September. As a matter of fact, the conference committee report makes it specific that TRS is to get the supplemental checks, that $2,400 to anyone 70 to 74 and anyone 75 and over, the $7,500, to pay those checks in September or before the month of September is over. So TRS is going to be really in a hurry up process to try to get that done. Again, this is pretty new material that we're looking at from last night to this morning. Not had a chance to talk to a lot of folks at TRS just yet about this. The language in the conference committee report suggests that those checks are going to be pretty fast. It also talks about withholdings and some other things at TRS. And so, we're filtering through that. And so if any of my friends from teacher retirement system are watching this and know that, they might want to follow up with me later on it, I just want everybody to know there's a little bit of potential interpretation. I'm just trying to leave an open door to say, we look at the language and it says September 2023. That's when we think it's all going to happen. Is that how it's exactly going to happen? I sure hope so. But, I think we just have to realize that, things can happen and hopefully it all occurs the way it's supposed to. All right. And again, I'm looking at my notes while I'm doing this, y'all. So TRS required to make supplemental payment if the legislature appropriates the funds. We got that. And so I think that covers the basics of the benefit enhancements. I do want to spend a couple seconds talking about the HJR before I look back down at the screen and see what questions are coming up. So the question has been, what, on the COLA, do we have to see a vote in November, a positive vote on this in November for the COLA to be official? The answer to that is yes. As those of you know who've been following this all session long, we were able to work with the legislature to ensure that the supplemental checks are not part of that constitutional authorization. The voters will be approving the expenditure of funds on the COLA. They are not approving the expenditure of funds on the supplemental check. So I'm confident that those checks will occur as long as all of these pieces fall into place in this final hours of the legislative session and we get through the conference committee report on Senate Bill 10. It's the last piece of the puzzle that we're wanting to see move through. All that happens, we believe that those checks are going to happen in the month of September. So on the other side of that, though, is the COLA itself. The funding for the COLA is there. That has been approved. The language for the constitutional authorization has been approved. And what we also know is that the language that ensures that the COLA will indeed occur if and when the voters approve this in November, that language will use the view of this the actuarial condition of the system when the legislature is making this decision. So, there was some concern that we all go to the polls, vote on this in November. TRS may have some bad months. They look at the valuation and say, oh, well, we're not actuarially sound. The legislature didn't want to take that risk. We worked with them on that. And what they are saying is, once the constitutional authorization is resolved, and if that is resolved in the affirmative, the COLA will occur, and the cost of living adjustments that we talked about earlier will go into effect in January of 2024. So checks should be coming out in September. We then will go to the polls as a group in the state and vote for the constitutional authorization on the expenditure of the funds for the COLA, which is a little over $3.23 billion in total to fund that COLA. And then TRS will implement the COLA in January of 2024. All right. Going to start looking at some of the comments, questions, and I'm going to do my best because we do have, quite a few folks that are watching this, almost 900 people that are watching this right now. So if you'd like to ask a question, please submit it on Facebook or YouTube. And I'm going to scroll through some of them. Lots of our folks from all over the state here. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for all of your work that you've been putting into this session. I mean, from El Paso to Dallas to, everywhere. So thank you all. So the first question, the Senate has already voted for the conference committee report. I'm not sure that we've seen the Senate vote on the conference committee report just yet. And I see that comment from Mike Chun. Y'all, I'm going to say one of the members that has truly been really engaged in this process is Mr. Chun. And I get emails from Mike. I enjoy your emails. Thank you for keeping up with this. A great TRT gamer. Thank you so much. And I see your comment. I have not seen the Senate vote on the CCR, but then again, I've been trying to pull all of this together this morning. So if I missed it, I hope they have. We saw them file their report on the conference committee at 10:59, but hopefully we find out that at least the Senate is done. That would be great news. The House has not yet voted on the conference committee report, so we know they still need to do it. The budget matters seem to be getting taken care of. Paula Miller from out in the Lubbock area. Hello, Paula. I think we answered the question about the cap. There is no cap that we're talking about. And other questions that we're looking at. And I've seen a few comments about folks that are concerned about will the voter authorization actually happen? What I'm going to say about this is again, kind of high level. As you all know, we are ending the legislative session. And for those of you that have been a part of this process and a veteran part of this, you know that getting through the 140 days takes a tremendous amount of work and fortitude and energy. And we're coming to that place that we're ending. And we've worked to ensure that TRS is going to be fiscally solvent, that they were going to get their funding, that TRS Care was going to get their funding. We've worked on a number of issues. Obviously, we've worked on this. And we feel like we're in a pretty good position to get this accomplished by the end of the session. I can promise you that the same level of energy that we have put into a legislative session, we are going to put into an effort to ensure that that constitutional authorization moves forward. I cannot promise anything. And I think anyone who would try to do so, that's probably not a good thing for them to say. But I can promise the effort level that we will put into it. And as an organization, TRTA is as organized, as influential, powerful group that it can be. And I think we're going to grow in that influence and ability to make a convincing and persuasive argument to the voters as we move towards November. That being said, I know some people are concerned about it. I certainly share the same view, but that view is going to certainly influence me and the efforts of this office and of our organization to do everything in our power to make sure that that constitutional authorization moves through. So understand some of that discussion, but all I can say is we're going to be working for it. So the question that I see next was, what about the supplements? When the supplemental checks were being discussed, you had a version of that supplemental check that was being talked about in the Senate. You had a different version that was being talked about in the House. Really, the shared approach there was the tier to include the age ranges and the amounts. So again, 70 to 74, it's a $2,400 check. 75 and up, it's a $7,500 check. I hope that answers the question about the supplemental. The supplemental is not tied to that constitutional authorization, and it will occur so long as we get final approvals here in the last hours of what's going on legislatively. Okay. In total, we estimate about 290,000 approximately folks will receive the supplemental checks. Approximately 290,000 to get the check in whatever tier that falls into. I see some comments here about the checks again, which I think I just answered. And somebody saying, will these be full 13th checks? Now, I really want to hit on this subject because it's one that I do talk to our members quite a little bit about. A common term in the public policy arena when it comes to doing an extra check for retirees is to call it a 13th check. We know that sometimes can be a misnomer because a 13th check would be, if you took it on exactly what it was, the literal translation of a 13th check would be one additional full check amount of whatever your annuity is paid out to you in a 12-month period of time. So whatever that annuity is, same amount, 13th check. TRTA doesn't always and rarely will ever use the nomenclature of 13th check unless we are talking about the very definitive 13th check. We typically use the words supplemental checks or supplemental payments. The big difference here on the tiers is that the supplemental check for a person who is 75 or over very likely to be higher than what a 13th check may be. So at $7,500, many folks are probably going to get a much higher amount than what a 13th check would be. So this is a supplemental check, but in its very nature, in that it's a higher amount. And I would say that on the 70 to 74-year-old in that tier, the $2,400, I don't know all of the methodology that went into that calculation, but my guess is that it was a combination of available funds that the legislature had identified in that $5 billion that they could do. I'm going to also guess that they probably added in some additional revenues, some other money to help make all of this possible to bring us up to that $5 billion threshold. I think at some point in time, I remember in the Senate proposal, it was somewhere around 4.5 billion as it was originally laid out, almost up to 4.7 billion. That amount has now gone up to 5 billion. In the House might have been around that 5 billion. So there was a combination of effort in how this was all pulled together. But again, those checks, 2,400, 70 to 74, 75 and up, $7,500. Okay. No cap for the COLA. full percentage. Note that yes, some of our folks, Cindy was pointing out that because there's no check or no cap on the COLA, it's not like the COLA that we received previously in 2013, where it was capped at no more than $100 per month. So this is an uncapped 6%, 4%, and 2% increase, depending on the tier that you fall into. Somebody is asking, is this COLA a one-time thing? The COLA is always tricky because it could be that there's a misconception about what's a one-time COLA and the idea of ongoing COLA. So I'll say it this way. The COLA will increase the retirement benefit by that percentage forever. But it won't be something that we will see going that next year there won't be another 6% raise, 4% raise, 2% raise. This is an ad hoc or a specific one-time COLA that the legislature is funding through the TRS so that it will forever increase the retirement benefits of our members who qualify for it. But it is not a COLA that will go on and reoccur in the next fiscal year or the fiscal years after that. TRTA and the legislature will have to continue to work on what the benefit enhancements for retirees will be in the next legislative session or in the out years. But we're focusing on what we're able to get done right now, and that is the one-time COLA and these extra checks for our folks. Okay. Looking at some more of the comments, and several people asked the question about the COLA. To really secure an ongoing COLA, and a lot of us will know retirees in other states who may have, as part of the retirement benefits, or even if we look at Social Security, where Social Security is doing COLAs, they don't always do them, but they do some kind of ongoing COLA. The contribution level increases would have to significantly change. I think we got a glimpse of that when the original House proposal talked about gain sharing, and it talked about teacher and state increases, active member increases, and legacy payments. All of that wasn't able to get through this legislative process. It doesn't mean that we can't talk about that in the future. But in order for Texas TRS to really implement some kind of ongoing COLA that may occur every year or every biennium, I think that what we learned from the House proposal is that we'll take higher contributions from our active members, from our school districts, from the state, in order to secure something like that. That conversation got started this biennium. And I applaud the folks in the Texas House for rolling out some concepts like that. And we're going to get through this legislative session, and I can pretty much assure you there will be another legislative session in the future. And so we'll have an opportunity to come back and continue to work on ideas such as that as we roll into the next time. All right. I have been on here for 33 minutes now, and I know that our audience is going up and down a little bit. I want to say, again, thank you to everyone who's on here. I'm going to continue to look at just the questions that are coming through. One question is, what is the cutoff date to be 75? That question is a good one. And we believe that we need some more information on that. There's some information in the bill. We've read it. We've talked about it internally. Before I say publicly what it is, because I don't want anybody to have the wrong impression, just know that we're looking into it. We're going to try to get an update on that. It could be that you need to be 75 the month prior to September 2023, or it could take, I can't remember, was it 8/31? Yeah, we're looking into it. And I know that my team is watching that. I knew that a question was probably going to come up. Y'all, we don't have all the answers right now. We're trying to get them. So my hope is that if you've got a birthday coming up that potentially puts you on the line, that we're going to find out something good, and it'll be a much happier birthday. Give us a little time to figure that out. And when we do, we'll make sure that we send that information out. Okay. Somebody said, well, what if you're not 70 yet? And if you won't be 70 by the time these checks go out? Well, unfortunately, what it means is that it will not be a supplemental check for anyone that is not going to hit those tiered qualifiers of age. The good news is that the cost of living adjustment is likely still to have an impact on those retirees who may not yet be age eligible for those checks. TRTA as an organization, we really did communicate with our state leadership and try to spread those dollars around as much as we could. There are some details of this that we may find out that, hey, there may have been a germaneness issue since both of these bills had a tier already built into them. We know the legislature is always able to get other information that we may not have. And some of that decision making really came down, I think, number one, to a driving framework that some of our more senior retirees with modest benefits were being targeted for some bigger monetary assistance. We know the statistics on the TRS. With 150,000 retirees that make $1,500 a month or less, you've got quite a few folks that probably will benefit greatly from getting that $7,500 because they've been retired for a while, and their benefits may be less than what a more recent retiree is. So that's very good public policy, and we appreciate that. We also know that everybody is financially hurting. The inflation impact is affecting everyone. So the COLA is going to help. We're grateful that 100,000 additional folks, that 70 to 74 category, will be benefited with the extra check. And we're going to, continue to fight for retirees that will not get these supplemental benefits. I know some people in the legislature have privately already told me that when we come back next time, they're already going to start working on some other ideas. That's great. We've got the support of our elected officials. We're going to continue to build on that support. It's a long way of saying that unless you hit that age qualifier, that check may not be coming your way. But we believe that the constitutional authorization, when successful, will make sure that those COLAs do happen. Okay. Please explain again who gets the 6% COLA. Be happy to. The 6% COLA is going to go to those retirees who retired on or before August 31st, 2001. So if your retirement date is August 31st, 2001 or before, you will get the 6% uncapped COLA, full 6%, whatever that annuity is, plus the 6% raise, 8/31/2001 or before. Since we're hitting the tiers, let's hit the next one. You will get a 4% increase if you retired after August 31st, 2001, but before August 31st, 2013. So that 12-year span, after 8/31/01 until 8/31/2013, you get a 4% raise. And then that final cutoff was retired August 31st, 2013, after August 31st, 2013, but before August 31st, 2020. It's a 2% raise. And again, that's getting posted, and we'll put it in our literature when we send it out to folks. Okay. I know that y'all have been very patient in listening to this, and I see the question. I'm going to go ahead and address it. The question is, what about the windfall elimination provision? And I know that you all are very eager for us to communicate more about our efforts on WEP and GPO. And we're eager to talk about them. as we've talked about in this broadcast before, during the 140 days of the legislative session, we focus on it because you're really condensing down 2 years worth of work into 5 months and so many days. And so we really focus on it. It does not mean, though, that we haven't been partnering with our friends on the national level to ramp up discussions on WEP and GPO and the full repeal of the WEP and the GPO. As you will recall, earlier in the legislative session, both the House and the Senate had recommendations or resolutions instructing our Texas congressional delegation to pursue the full repeal of the WEP and the GPO. That measure did go to the governor. The governor has signed it. We have had a number of our elected leaders speak out on that. I am a true believer that if our retirees were qualifying for their individually earned Social Security benefits, we wouldn't be so dependent on the legislature every legislative session to try to help resolve the fiscal difficulties that our retirees are dealing with. You earned your Social Security benefits. You didn't shortchange the federal government when you were paying your full tax on your Social Security benefits when you worked your jobs. And yet the federal government, knowingly today, still has extremely bad public policy as the law of the land that says we will shortchange you. And that is wholly unacceptable. And as an organization, you will see TRTA more aggressively. We're aggressively doing it behind the scenes right now, but you will see it more because we'll have more of an opportunity to talk about it and get you all engaged. I've been told, never to say I hate anything. Certainly not, people, that sort of thing. But I hate the WEP and I hate the GPO because it is bad public policy. And we as a group need to do more and can do more to try to affect change. And that is what we are going to do. So just buckle up and be ready because we're going to really, get into that as we end this state legislative session and we have an opportunity to engage with our members more on this in the summer months and the fall months. All right. Do the checks need to be voted on in November? No. I'll say this again for those who are coming in a little bit late. The supplemental checks are not part of the constitutional authorization. The COLA is part of the constitutional authorization. And the reason is that when you are spending the dollars, the $5 billion, the legislature called this a budget matter. So they were able to fit within the budget framework, the direct payment for the supplemental checks. But they went to the constitutional authorization to ensure that they could have the money to fully fund the COLA so that it wouldn't affect the funds. The dollars are being appropriated, but by asking the voters to confirm that retirees can have those COLAs funded, then that money will not count against the constitutional limits on the spending authority that the legislature has in place on how much can be spent during a budget cycle. So again, we're aggressively going to be working on that. I've used that word several times. I probably need to think of a different word than aggressively. I'll think of something eventually. So, all right. I'm having fun. I don't know if the rest of you are or not, but I am because I'm engaging with our members. We're coming towards the end of the session and coming up on 12:45, and I didn't want to take a full hour, but as long as y'all are here, I'm glad to answer your questions. And I see Vicki Truitt was making some comments in there, but I can't see where she made those comments. Vicki Truitt is part of our capital team, former pensions chair, longtime supporter of retirees, and I appreciate that she's watching this and participating. Okay. Looking at some other comments, one of the Pat Macias, former president of TRTA, is in the Facebook group. Pat, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here. Mike is confirming that the conference committee on House Bill 1 passed in the Senate. We're still waiting on 10. We're gonna continue to keep an eye on that. And I did see one comment saying that the takeaway from all this is that the voters have to approve it. You know what? Yes, and I'm not. I don't want to say this the wrong way. I've got several takeaways from this. First of all, when we started the legislative session, there were some comments saying that people couldn't predict what the budget was going to be. There was all this money. There were these constitutional spending limits. You know, what could we get accomplished with $1 billion? As a matter of fact, as some of you probably recall, in the supplemental budget, SB 30, in House Bill 1, the placeholder dollar amount was $1 billion. Through the work of our membership, through our friends in the legislature who believed that this was a much higher priority ultimately than what would just be accomplished through $1 billion, we look like we're going to end the session with 5 times that amount of money to accomplish these goals that we have been working on. This legislative session presented a tremendous and unique opportunity for us to work with legislative decision makers on a COLA and a supplemental check at the same time. Never in history has this ever occurred before. $5 billion. Is it a best case scenario that we've got to go through this constitutional authorization? You know, we would have rather seen, I think, that this would have just been assured. But here we are. We know that the constitutional authorization is something that is going to happen. And for me, for my office, for the TRTA Board of Directors, for our Capitol team, for our leadership in the local chapters, for our district presidents, for our membership, we're going to work it. I can't make any promises, but I can only promise you effort, and I can promise you that we are going to push it. And so, you know, my belief is that when we start communicating with the public, several things are going to happen. Number one, a lot of people are going to realize that retirees have not had a raise for 20 years. And many people do not know that our teachers, by and large, do not have Social Security. And the other thing that I know is that many of the folks that will be going to those polls are going to be the son, daughter, family member, student, general supporter, an active teacher, a superintendent, a legislator, somebody who is saying, you know what, these retirees deserve this. We're going to go and vote for it. We're going to engage on every level to make sure that happens. And I would sure like to think that if you are not a TRTA member and you have only found us because we've been doing these broadcasts now for the last 20 weeks, that you will see the effort that this organization puts into accomplishing these goals, and that you will think of joining us. I would love to see our TRTA membership grow because more people become aware of who we are as an organization. And as I said, you know, if I'd had my way, we wouldn't necessarily be doing with the HJR and the constitutional authorization, but it's here, and that's what we're going to have to do. And that's what we are going to do. And so hopefully, as I said, we'll get more people involved in our local chapters. We'll get more people involved in this organization, and it will grow us at the same time that we win on the constitutional authorization. All right. Looking at some more of these questions, and I think, y'all, we probably will call it a day there. And I want to again say thank you, everyone. And I almost did this at the beginning, but I wanted to get right into the details. I really want to thank the TRTA membership. I want to thank our board of directors. I want to thank our Capitol team, every level of leadership, every district president, every member of the state legislative committee, every state legislative chapter representative, every chapter president, all of the folks that have been calling, emailing, communicating, reading our updates, watching these videos, engaging with the legislators. you all are the ones who helped turn the tide to really improve this situation for all TRS retirees. Again, our organization is about 97,000 folks. We're going to be able to tell some stories after this that I think will truly illuminate what it means to have a powerful TRTA organization focused specifically on TRS benefits. And I'm not going to get into all that today, but you will find out, I believe, that you will be proud to know that you have a powerful, active organization representing retiree benefits, how some of these things could have gone a different direction, but turned out for the best and the best deal that we could have gotten this legislative session. And I also want to thank all of our friends in the legislature, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Joan Huffman in the Senate, all of the members in the Senate who signed on to supporting this in the beginning. I want to thank the Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan, the Chairman of the Appropriations, Greg Bonin, Chairman of Pensions, Giovanni Capriglione, all of our friends in the Texas House who also support this. We've got one final piece of this puzzle to be put into place. The final vote on the conference committee reports. If any of you are watching this right now and can help move that to be sooner than later, we'd love to see it happen, but we will be here until it does. And we want to, again, thank you all for your work. Really look forward to continuing our work as we get this thing accomplished and finished. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I was waiting for Roy to end this, but I realized I'm the one who has to do it. So again, thank you all so much. Enjoy your Saturday. We will keep you updated. We will send out information. And ultimately, we probably will do one more of these before we wrap it up for the summer and start focusing on other items that we're going to be working on. Y'all have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.